Today I'd like to talk about something a little bit different. I'm going to talk about Odinism. That is right, the religion of Odinism. Originally it started the Scandinavian, British, and Northern European peoples. It's all sorts of different ideas, behaviors, and attitudes. It was eventually converted mostly into Christianity when the Christians chose not to trade with them, when political and religious leaders chose to be baptized or denounce the religion as heathens or pagans or idolaters. It has pretty much become a subculture religion for the disenfranchised. Most people you would find practicing this religion in the Americas would be prisoners and bikers, and to a lesser degree, heavy metal guys and girls. Heavy metal. I first learned of this. I had heard of this religion before, but it was first introduced to me when I spent time in prison. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but I remember exactly what he looked like. He looked almost exactly like the Summoner Champion Rise from League of Legends, with the exception that he did not have purple skin. He had some very noticeable tattoos, runic tattoos, and he worshipped the Green Man. You'd find him out in the yard in the grass, stretching and kinda chilling out, making his peace, I guess, staring at the trees. But he was really intelligent. He was in there for armed robbery, I believe, doing a 5 to 20 on his 7th year. He explained it to me. He had a codex. We'd argue about how things were pronounced between the peoples that would care to talk about it or subscribe to the religion. I found most of my friends in this particular group of people on the inside. Mostly spent my time with whatever the Mexican gang was, because I managed to get a cell with one of their higher ups right off the rip, and we became friends. The Odinist guys were the guys I kicked it with most of the time out on the yard. And one of the leaders was half Mexican, so it was a good deal all around for me. But that's not important. What is important is that these people they took me in. They didn't try to force it on me at all. They wanted to tell me they wanted to have another brother. They actually managed to get a mass once a month at the temple, I guess. I don't know what else you would call that unholy building with the crucifix on it, because all the religions practiced there. Muslims, Hindus, Christian, the Moors. The Moors. That was kind of a black gang in its own. They wore fezzes and they had a pin. You wanted to steer clear of them because they would take their sweet time getting revenge 2 years down the line. That was what I was told anyways. Most things are exacted in a week or so, as far as I've known. Christianity became something you did not want to associate with in prison. The main reason being that most of the child molesters would attend the Christian Mass every Sunday. Many people want to distance themselves from that as far as possible. If you know anything about Christmas, you will know that Santa Claus is actually a pseudonym for Odin. The 8 reindeer are the 8 hooves of Silfnir, his 8-legged steed. Thursday is Thor's day. Friday is Freya's day. Wednesday is Odin's day. Actually, every day of the week has a religious, pagan name to it in our current astrological calendar. As in, Sunday is the sun's day, Monday is the moon's day, Tuesday is Tuesday, Wednesday is Woden's day, or Odin, Thursday is Thor's day. Friday is Freya's day. Saturday is Saturn's day. The main reason I'm going into this is to draw comparisons again. Believers in Odinism loved their women. Their women were as important to them as their sons, because you can't have more sons without women. Women kept the city, the town going, so you had some place to return to after your bloody raids. They took care of your children that were not ready to go out and fight, so therefore they were respected, because they ran things when men that were strong enough to fight left, leaving only the young and the enfeebled around. When you die in battle as an Odinist, a Valkyrie, a battle maiden, flies down on her winged horse, her Pegasus, if you will, and she takes you off to Valhalla, which is basically the Norse or the Odinist idea of heaven, where you hang out in a club all day, drink and fight with your friends. And that's kind of the Odinist idea of heaven. You don't get 72 virgins or whatever it is, and you don't treat your women like they are lesser human beings. And I mean, I've never understood that, why religion would subscribe to something like that. I guess it has to do with where the religion spawned from. Whereas the Odinist religion spawned from Northern Europe, and Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all came from the Middle East, Iraq kind of area. And they all kind of follow the same tenets, just to different degrees, and all three of their religious texts show varying degrees of intolerance. And while I wouldn't say that Odinism is the religion of tolerance, I would say that they seem to have been more tolerant of the Christians in their time than they needed to be. They decided to live in harmony with them, wed them, marry with them, be neighbors with them, and that pretty much created the English Empire, and many empires around it that lasted for a very long time, pretty much up until today, most of those countries. I was born into a Christian family. I was raised as a Christian. I was confirmed a Christian. And while I would have dropped out many, many times as a child, it was basically, you go to church, you go to catechism, or your dad isn't going to do anything for you. That's pretty much the way it went. And I've always kind of disdained it for that. I mean, I get it. I get the religion. I have never, ever been interested in the organized aspect of it, going to church, going to things of that nature. And many of my friends feel the same way. It's when you look at Jesus, let's imagine for a second Jesus is a pagan god. He's like the god of sorrow, or the god of sacrifice. And people get behind that because it's easy to understand. This God sacrificed himself to save us all. But he was a real man, and yada yada yada. Whereas somebody that controls thunder with a hammer seems a little less believable. And I'm not going to go into ancient aliens or anything crazy like that. I'm just going to put this in a reality-based kind of it makes sense context, because otherwise I'm going to sound like an idiot, to be honest. You can only believe in what you believe in. And whether that's a guy that wields lightning, or a guy that comes comes back from the dead in 3 days, or a guy that parts the Red Seas. Maybe he walks in a jeweled road in the sky. Whatever god, you're into. He does something rather silly that is beyond the realm of believability. Nothing that we see ever, except in cartoons and television and network broadcast dramas. So, this religion isn't around anymore. Not really. Like I said, the few and the disenfranchised practice this religion. It meets their needs. They feel that, as far as I'm concerned, the people in prison feel that, they'll get to go somewhere when they die, and it won't be full of child molesters or anybody else that they disdain. Because there's not a lot of love on the inside for people that are not just like you. People that don't prescribe to the same ideals that you do. Everyone can laugh and get along, and some really good comedians in there, but at the end of the day, when the line is drawn, you kind of stand on a certain side of it. And when does someone draw this line in the outside world? It seems like never. They said when the Berlin Wall was torn down that was the end of history.
Waited, I was alive and I waited for this. Right here, right now. There is no other place I wanna be. Right here, right now. Watching the world wake up from history.
When the Cold War ended, that history died. It was no longer a world of nations. It was a world that was built on togetherness and the computer age and information. And for the most part, I completely agree. It makes perfect sense to me that people would see it that way. Yet here we are, in a pseudo 1984 world of perpetual warfare, where countries still war, and there's definitely still history. Only the person writing it is suspect. The person reporting on events is almost always suspect, because nationalism, especially in a place like America, has been divided along color and religious lines, and you don't see them, but they're there. The whole Mike Brown hands up don't shoot, we all know now that never happened. But so many people were on one side of that line, they're just like, oh, this is scripture. This is word. This happened. You can't do this to us. We hate you for this. And it never happened. It's fanaticism at its finest right there. It's just, I could go make up like Watermelon Man, the sniper in the sky that turns your head into watermelons and shoots you, and your brain explodes if you don't stand on your head and count to 10 every day at noon. It's going to happen. It's not going to happen right now, but it'll happen. Watermelon Man's going to get you. Respect. You can make your donations at the front door. Live in fear of Watermelon Man. The point I'm trying to make is that the modern definition of barbarism is the ancient definition for Odinism. Guys that raid and pillage shores and attack monasteries and kill helpless people because of their lust for gold. Conquistadors, manifest destiny, whatever you want to call it. Stuff that happened hundreds of years ago. Barbarism, okay? It was rampant. Everybody acknowledges this. That's the way life was for thousands of years. That's the way the Homo sapiens did it. Okay? We've gotten past that, and now that we've gotten past that, people want to bring it up every day. Okay? We live in this computer age after the end of history where the Berlin Wall came down, and I can talk to anybody on the planet if I have their phone number or email address. I could talk to Bill Gates right now like, hey Bill, Windows 10 is going to flop, don't do it. You know what I'm saying? I could tell him before it's going to happen. Okay? I have that power. I have that much power. I can influence the world if I have the right phone number or email address. Today's definition of barbarism isn't what it was before. It can be anything. It's so convoluted. And really, the definition hasn't changed, but people are trying to change the definition of it almost daily. If a police officer shoots a criminal, it's a barbaric act. I'm gonna draw the line there and say that it's not really barbaric act, because unless the criminal was a barbarian himself, there was no criminal act involved. But look, I don't believe in drug prohibition, okay? I don't. But if you're a robber or a thief, you're a brigand, whatever it is, you're gonna run along a cop that's a better sword fighter than you, and he's gonna slay you like a orc. I don't know how much plainer I can put it. You know, he's gonna slay you like a goblin one of these days. Okay, it's gonna happen. That's the way it works out. You can only run for so long before you get tired. Marathon runners from Kenya get tired after a while. Alright. So, there you have it. Barbarism. When you actually see barbarism, you might want to call it out and not call something barbarism when it's not.